Hey, welcome to Dallas Stock Talk, where I talk about topics relating to investing in finance, but more specifically the stock market. In this video, I'll be going over our IBOND. I'll be going over what an IBOND is, how it works, where to get it from, and the pros and cons. Anything you need to know about IBONDs or whether you want to buy or not is going to be in this video. And I have timestamps so you can skip around to your liking. But before we get started, make sure you smash the like button because it helps the YouTube algorithm, helps YouTube know that this is quality content and help my videos reach a broader audience. And also, if you're interested in finance and investing t-shirts, make sure you check out my store, Wall Street Stock Apparel, where I make custom finance and investing t-shirts. So like I said, right now the IBOND yield or interest is at 9.62%. This is not a mistake. And let's get into the details and let's waste no more time and let's jump into it. So the first things first about the IBOND, the key thing is to know what is an IBOND. So the whole idea of an IBOND is to preserve your wealth. The IBOND, and the I in this particular case stands for inflation. So the whole purpose of the IBOND is to keep up with inflation so you won't lose your buying power. And I'll go into all the details about it a little bit later in this video, but for what they call a Series I savings bond or IBOND. And so the whole purpose of this particular bond is to have you to reserve your money so that it can at least keep up with inflation. So this is not a wealth. If you're trying to build wealth, this is not something you would go by. You're just using this as a risk-free, that's right, completely risk-free, because it's issued by the federal government. Now, there's several different things you want to know about it beforehand, and I'll go over. I went over a list in general as well. But like I said, the first things first that I want to go over is 5 important things. I'm gonna go over these 5 important things, and then I'm gonna get into the details. Because if you don't know these 5 particular things, trust me, this is the 5 things I'm about to go over is the most important thing in this video. So make sure you watch it over and over again and you listen to exactly what I particularly said. Alright, so these are the things that you want to know about the IBOND. And by the way, the rates for the IBOND is 9.62%. That is really high. Okay, so rule number 1 with the IBOND. You must hold the IBOND for at least 1 year. So if you need the money within 1 year, don't consider the IBOND. IBOND has to be 1 year. Also, number 2, the IBOND rate changes every 6 months. So the number that I was saying before, the 9.62, and I'll go back to the regular site so you can see it, and I'll show you on there as well. But that 9.62 is based off of annual. If the rate was that same amount for both 6 months, you would get that 9.62%. But every 6 months, like I said, for the first 6 months, you are guaranteed a 9.62 annual. Now you have to remember annual, so it's 6 months, so you would divide that by 2, so you would be guaranteed 4.81%. Trust me, I'll show another slide where you can actually see all the numbers, but I'm just kind of going over the main rules. So remember, the interest rate changes every 6 months, and that's based off of inflation, or the CPI numbers, Consumer Price Index. So the higher, if the cost of goods and stuff goes up, then the number of the rate of inflate, whatever the rate of inflation is higher, then they will issue higher rates for the IBOND. If it becomes lower, then the numbers will be lower. So remember, you must hold it for 1 year. IBOND rate changes every 6 months. Before the 9.62, it was 7.1. I think it was like 7.1. Number 3, if you don't hold the IBOND for 5 years, by the way, I would not a financial advisor, but I would never probably hold it for that long. The last 3 months, so after a year, you're able to sell it, but the last 3 months, you won't get interest on. So if you had it for, let's say you had it for a year and you wanted to sell it, you would get interest on the 9 months, but not the full 12 months. Number 4, the IBOND. The most you can have in the IBOND per year is $10,000. I think it starts off as $25 and up to $10,000. And last but not least, you can only buy the IBOND through treasurydirect.gov. That's the only where you can get it from. You can't get it from your mom and dad. You can't get it from your bank. You can't get it from an E-Trade, Fidelity, and stuff like that. But those are the most important things. So I'm about to jump into the actual site. This is the actual site, treasurydirect.gov. I'll drop it in the description below so you will know exactly where to go to. And I'll actually make another video to go in step by step in detail. I'll actually walk you through the whole entire process. Now, like I said before, the whole point of the IBOND is to keep up with inflation. It's the best risk-free, at this particular time that I can think of, the best risk-free investment where you can keep up with inflation. In high inflation environments, especially when the market has a lot of volatility, you could go with this IBOND to keep your buying power. So this is the thing. So right now, the rate is 9.62%. Remember, this is annual, but you will only know for sure what it is for 6 months. So you would just take that number and divide it by 2, so it would be 4.81%. Now, this rate applies from May to October. So you can lock in these rates May and October. In November, that's when you'll know the new rates. So as long as you purchase the IBOND between May and October, this is the rate you'll lock in. And then after that, when November rates come in, you'll know, okay, what you'll get the other 6 months. Now, I believe the time before this, it was 7.12, but that's it. Clearly right here says, when can I cash my bond? It says, if you cash it in before 5 years, you will lose the last 3 months of interest. Trust me, that's not a big deal. And by the way, these IBONDs are for 30 years, but no one holds it that long. From my personal opinion, I would use the IBOND if I needed the money probably within less than 2 years, and maybe I needed it maybe 15 months, 18 months in a short particular time. Maybe I was thinking about buying a house in 18 months or something like that, going with the IBOND, because with stocks and real estate and stuff like that, you need a longer time horizon, or it's kind of too volatile to predict. Now, as far as doing it for emergency funds, I probably, if you, like I said, I would only do IBONDs if you don't need the money in one particular year. As far as looking more of a long-term period, maybe like definitely over 2 years, probably not be the best option. But like I said, if you was going to have the money in cash anyway, and you don't really need it within a year, this could be a great opportunity. I will only buy this bonds when inflation numbers are high, because once the numbers are low, I think there's other opportunities. I think this is definitely better than right now than high yield savings, CDs, money market, and even regular bonds right now. Once those particular numbers change, that would be a whole different story. And yeah, I think their special rules may apply after a natural disaster or something like that, but I wouldn't bank on that. So this is the current rate. The current rate is 9.62 for bonds issued from May to October. The minimum purchase, $25. The maximum is $10,000. And they do allow you to do $5,000 if you do it with your tax return or something like that. But with your tax return, I think they actually give you a physical paper bond, which is kind of wild. Now, like I said, the issue method, electric bond, online in Treasury Bank. Or if you do the tax return, they give you a bond. So, and by the way, like I said, you would go on treasurydirect.gov. You would click on My Accounts. Once you click on My Accounts, then you would go to click on Open Your Accounts, and then this would be the step. I'll make a whole nother video going over exactly how you do it, but choose the type of account you're opening. You have step 2, which is where you enter your EIN number, Social Security, email, bank account, and step 3, your passwords or something like that. But yeah, also I wanted to remember, it's actually 2 kinds. It's the fixed and the variable one. which the one we're talking about is variable. Fixed one, it's been 0, so I'm not even going to entertain that. But let me go over an actual example so you can definitely follow. And by the way, this is the actual formula of how they came up with that. Fixed plus the 2 times inflation rate plus fixed rate times inflation rate equals the composite number, if you guys were interested in knowing. So I'm going to use this particular example with actual numbers so you definitely can follow. So here's the example. Say you bought $10,000 worth of electric bond in May 2022. Your fixed rate is 0 and your inflation rate, this is what we're looking at. Your inflation rate is 4.81%. Using your composite rate, which will be calculated by blah, 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 you would come up with the 9.62% applied, which means that you are guaranteed $481 on the $10,000 interest over the next 6 months. But remember, you can't cash your bond out into a year. So you have, once that 6 months happen, you'll then find out what the new rate that you would end up going. And it's based off of consumer's price index. So if inflation keeps going high, the numbers will be higher. If inflation goes lower, then that your rate that you'll get interest on will be much lower. So like I said, because you're only guaranteed for 6 months, your rate can go down, up or down after that. So assuming the rate stays the same, then you would get the other $481 as well. Yeah, assuming the rate stays the same for the next 6 months of interest, you'll earn interest of $481 on your personal initial investment of $10,000, and you'll earn $985 total in interest after 1 year. Yeah, but if you have the bond less than 5 years, you have to keep in mind the last 3 months. The last 3 months you won't earn interest. So in this case, they already kind of did the math for you. The $252 for the last 3 months, you won't be able to get that. So you have to subtract the interest from the last 3 months. So instead of getting $10,985, you'll be getting $10,733. And if you look at that period for a whole entire year, that's still a 7.3%, even after once you factor into the penalty and stuff like that. So this is a good example of exactly as far as real numbers and things like that. look at the little paper IBONDs things. Let's go over the pros and cons. Okay, so let's go into pros and cons. The pros is when inflation is high, and like right now, if you had the IBOND, you'd be outperforming most stocks and bonds simply because the stocks are down overall down. Bonds, some of them are down or that's much lower. So right now, if you had the IBOND, it would be way more attractive right now than stocks, CDs, and high yield savings account right now. The also thing about it is risk free. I probably should have mentioned this earlier. That's right, it is risk free. It's backed by the federal government. So as long as the federal government in play, you will not lose your money. So getting a 9% on a risk-free investment, that's very rare. And after inflation and stuff goes down, that wouldn't be that big of a deal. The next also thing, tax benefits. As for, you won't have to pay state and local tax, but you will have to end up paying federal taxes. Cons is you can only do $10,000 worth a month. So if you have, and plus $5,000 if you want to do with your refund. But like I said, the thing about it is, so if you have a large amount of cash, I mean, you can only use this to a certain extent. Yeah. The other ones that this particular bond in high inflation situations can pay higher rate than, regular bonds or something like that. The cons is you must buy this through treasurydirect.gov, and that's one of the particular cons. The process of how may end up buying it, because it's through the site, may not be as smooth as like a regular just getting it from a bank and stuff like that. So as far as like banks, if you have a bank or brokerage, they can actually track it a little bit more. And this one is just like you have to kind of more so track it yourself. Also, if you had like some type of business or estate, you want to be careful with that. Another, like I said, the con thing is if you don't hold the bond for 5 years, you won't get interest on the last 3 months. That's one. Another con is you can't purchase it through your IRA or anything like that. Remember the cons, you can only do $10,000. And for inflation, this is the reason why I bonds are paying so high is only because of high inflation. So if inflation goes down, the I bonds probably won't be paying much to nothing. So like I said, I want to also let you know that the 9.62% completely risk-free right now. It's only this high. I'm telling you once again, it's only this high because inflation numbers are this high. Normally inflation on average, I think it's between 2 to 3%. So these numbers will be way lower than that. Me personally, I will purchase the particular I bond. Just like I said, I don't know how much I'll put into it, but I'll definitely do the I bond. Like I said, it's backed by the federal government. So as long as the federal government in play, considering zero risk with a 9.62% with zero risk, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. I mean, well, if you were trying to invest in stocks or something like that, you get a longer time frame, yeah. But if you were just you needed a place to park your money without taking any risk, that's later than a year, this could be a great opportunity, especially for people who don't like to particularly take risks. Yeah, and also I wanted to let you know that I said $10,000, but if you have a business, that would count separately as $10,000, and also if you had like a trust, that would count as another $10,000. So technically, there's a way you could probably get $30,000, one in your business, one in your trust estate, and one for like you yourself. But that concludes Dial Stock Talk. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think about the I bond? If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button, and if you're new, make sure you subscribe to my channel.